All right, shalom. Welcome to another show. Today's lesson we're going to deal with, it's called The Rothschilds Own the Vatican. And also we're going to be touching on the land of Jerusalem. And the reason why I wanted to put this lesson together real quick was because of the fact that, we've made mention before in the past that basically the Rothschilds, they own everything. They own the Roman Catholic Church and everything. And I just wanted to go through a few documents just to prove that point, because that's our main goal and our main purpose is to prove everything. And at this particular time, what's happening is the so-called white man, which is the Edomites, they're being exposed to the fullest, and that's what the Lord said. They were going to be exposed, and then they were going to be brought down. So I want to go to this first what you call it here. Just bear with me 1 second. I want to go to this first clip here. All right, and this first clip here, as you can see here, this is the website here, and this is a article that I had read on a previous show that I did on the Vatican. Now this is how the Vatican created Islam, and I just want to make a few points out of here. All right, it says here, what I'm going to tell you, this is Cardinal B speaking to Dr. Rivera, or Alberto Rivera. All right, it says, what I'm going to tell you is what I learned in secret briefings in Vatican when I was a Jesuit priest under oath and induction. A Jesuit cardinal named Augustine B showed us how desperately the Roman Catholics wanted Jerusalem at the end of the 3rd century, and the reason why they want their land Jerusalem is because it's the Holy Land. They're not fighting for no other land like Africa, none of those lands, because the scriptures tell you that Jerusalem, which is above is free, is the mother of us all, in the book of Galatians, the 4th chapter. So everybody knows that there's a spiritual connection with that land of Jerusalem. All right, so the Roman Catholic Church, they wanted it going back during the time of the 3rd century, because when you go back in history, when the Roman Empire took over, eventually we ended up falling as a nation from around 66 BC to about 64 AD to about 74 AD, somewhere in that area, 64, 66 AD, and around 74 AD, that's when we fell completely, and from that time on, the land of Jerusalem has been inhabited by heathens, basically. All right, so now the Roman Catholic Church is trying to get that land back, going back thousands of years, almost 2,000 years they've been trying to get that land. So it says, because of its religious history and its strategic location, the holy city was considered a priceless treasure. A scheme had to be developed to make Jerusalem a Roman Catholic city, and that's exactly what they did when they set up Islam. And the reason why Islam was set up was to take that land back from the people that were living there, which were them Arabs. So it says, when Cardinal B shared with us in the Vatican, he said, these writings are guarded because they contain information that links the Vatican to the creation of Islam, and that's the truth, but they don't want that information out. That's why Cardinal B told Alberto Rivera, which was a ex-Jesuit priest, and he in turn brought this information out when he defected from the Vatican and from the Roman Catholic Church. It says both sides have so much information on each other that if exposed, it could create such a scandal that it would be a disaster for both religions. So it says the Vatican helped to finance the building of these massive Islamic armies in exchange for 3 favors: eliminate the Jews and Christians, true believers, which they called infidels, which basically they were the same people, but some of them believed in the Lord and some of them didn't. All right, so it says protect the Augustinian monks and the Roman Catholics, which is the same thing they did during the time of Hitler, which they call it. They signed the Reichskonkordat, which they protected basically the Roman Catholics. That's why they were able to roam free, and them so-called Jews, supposedly they weren't be able to roam free, but that's another subject. Alright, it says conquer Jerusalem for his holiness in the Vatican. So these are the three favors that they had to do in exchange for the Vatican to finance those large armies among the Muslims. So it says the Pope realized that they had created a vast the Pope realized what they had created was out of control when they heard they were calling his holiness an infidel. Alright, so now so we're going to the next article here, which is called The Trumpet, from trumpet.com. Alright, it says Vatican's hidden Jerusalem agenda, March 16, 2009. Why is Pope Benedict visiting Israel, and why right now? Alright, now we're going to find out why. So I'm going to scroll down to the highlighted places. It says, back in the mid-1990s, a statement made by Pope John Paul II during an interview in his native Poland, broadcast in Italian over a Polish radio station, was noted by one of our Italian associates. She sent us a transcript of the interview, which included one particularly startling reference made by the Pope regarding the Vatican's ultimate goal of transferring its headquarters from Rome to Jerusalem, because they've been trying to do that for the longest, and it's no different today. What was unusual about this admission of John Paul II is that the Vatican's intentions to possess Jerusalem are seldom publicized and little commented on. Right, because it's a big secret. In fact, an air of secrecy, something that the Vatican has a history of creating over various of its affairs over the centuries, has surrounded this project since the failure of the Crusades. The most obvious of the covert and now very historical attempts by the Vatican to seize control of the Holy City, those attempts have a long history with strong attachments to the German nation, right up to the past two world wars, beyond to our present day. Alright, because the Edomites, which come out of the land of Germany, you know, the Temanites, or the land of Teman, they've been trying to get that land of Jerusalem too, because they're all Edomites. So it says, as far back as the 8th century AD, emissaries were sent to Jerusalem by Emperor Charlemagne to negotiate an agreement with the Muslim Caliph Harun al-Rashid. The result was that Jerusalem became a protectorate of the Holy Roman Empire. Historical records indicate that such a protectorate was limited to the oversight of the welfare of Christians, the care and protection of designated holy sites, and the properties of the Roman Catholic Church in Jerusalem. The fact that the Caliph would be a financial beneficiary to this enterprise was a given. Muslim support of the Kaiser's army in World War I, and again the Nazi regime of World War II, was the end result of a long historical nexus between the Muslims and Germany. It says, for the time of the Charlemagne-Harun Pact, through the attempt by Kaiser Wilhelm to seize Jerusalem in World War I to this day, elements within Germany have historically viewed themselves as protectors of the Roman Catholic Church. From the time of the failure of the Great Crusades, German elites have worked to find ways and means of seizing the plum job of protector of Jerusalem, and that's what they've been doing. Notice they said from the time of the failure of the Great Crusades, German elites have worked to find ways and means of seizing the plum job of the protector of Jerusalem. Because remember, going up in time, those Germans, you know, which were really, because back in the days you had Jakes that were in that land, but then later on in the history, when the Byzantine Empire started falling, them Khazars and them Edomites, them so-called Jews, they started getting up in all these lands. So they've been trying to find a way to get that land of Jerusalem back. But the Most High ain't gonna give it to them, because He's gonna give it to us. So it says, both Vatican and German diplomacy in Israel are linked to a common end: possession of the old city of Jerusalem, as well as most of the eastern half of the city. The Jews are the pawns in the grand game of international diplomacy. Alright, so it says the Jews, so-called Jews, are the pawns in this grand game of international diplomacy. Going back to the time of Muhammad and the so-called Arabs, you know, that Muslim bullshit, the Arabs were the pawns. Now they use these so-called Jews as the pawns to try to get that land back. Right? It says the Vatican already has significant presence in Jerusalem by virtue of free access to its holy sites, over which Rome has legal jurisdiction under Israeli law, including both its institution and assets in Jerusalem. The consolidation of these arrangements came by virtue of a bilateral agreement termed the Fundamental Agreement between the Holy See and the State of Israel. All right. Now keep that in mind, because this is going to tie everything together to prove to you that the Rothschilds own the Vatican. All right. It says, which the Israeli government signed with the Vatican on December 30th, 1993. The terms of this agreement, composed in secret, were subsequently legislated by the Israeli parliament. 6 months after the signing of the bilateral agreement between Israel and the Vatican on June 15, 1994, the Israeli government linked a further agreement with the Vatican, endorsing the Roman Catholic Church's participation in negotiations to determine the future of Jerusalem. Alright, so it says, journalist Joel Beinerman, a well-known commentator on Israeli affairs, claims the end goal of the Vatican is to seize control of the old city of Jerusalem out of the clutches of the state of Israel. And the reason why that is so is because this goes back to how the Rothschilds got control of the Vatican finances, and that's the reason why they want to get the land of Israel back from them, because they had stole basically they have gotten into the Vatican and taken over their finances. So they want to get that land back because they figure that they owed something. It says, to that end, they have a secret agreement with Israel, which obliges Israel to represent the extraterritorial claim to their physical presence in the city. In short, we have accepted the Vatican's right to have little Vatican sovereign embassies throughout our eternal capital of Jerusalem. Alright, so now I want to go from there to this. I'm going to hit a couple of articles, and then after we finish the articles, then we're going to hit the scriptures. Alright, so I want to go to this other article here, which you can see here. This is the actual website. It's entitled Mystery Babylon the Great, Catholic or Jewish, Part 4. Now you're going to start seeing how the Vatican Church was the finances of the Vatican Church was really the Vatican Church was taken over by the Rothschilds. Alright, it says here, Cita del Vaticano. Does the Priory of Prayer de Zion control the Roman Catholic Church today? Excuse me. Now the Priory of Zion basically is these top so-called Jew families that basically own everything. You know, they have the Committee of 300. You know, then they got the Fortune 500 families and all those different 13 bloodlines and all that. So it says, does the Priory of Zion control the Roman Catholic Church today? And the answer to that is yes. It says, according to various sources, including a Jewish encyclopedia, the House of Rothschild has been a long-standing trustee of the Vatican's wealth. Now this right quick, I added this in here from another website because I wanted to bring out the situation with the Priory of Zion, or who they are, right? So it says Priory de Zion. It says the secret society was devoted to occult and esoteric interests. All right, and that's basically what it is. It's just the Rothschilds' way of setting up a group of elite so-called Jews around the world that control basically everything esoteric, which esoteric means hidden. And if you go to this website here, they'll give you a list of all the members and all that stuff. Alright, now going back to the original article of the Mystery Babylon the Great, Catholic or Jew. It says, early in the 19th century, the Pope came to the Rothschilds to borrow money. See, that's when the Vatican and them came to the Rothschilds to borrow money, that was it. That's how the Rothschild get these people, because they lend them grand amounts of money, which they know that they can't pay back. So in essence, what does it take for them to call off their loan? They take their property. You know, in this case, they took over the finance of the Rothschilds, which I believe it was Meyer Amschel Rothschild, or back then he was named Bauer. He said, "Give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws." So basically, they had the Vatican by the balls, or